Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Soul Sparkle Radio. I'm so excited to have you join us today, and I'm also just thrilled to be joined by my sweet friend, Chantelle Adams. Chantelle is a professional speaker, speech stylist, and courage igniter. She's delivered over 800 speeches and added more than six figures to her business through speaking. Now she teaches women entrepreneurs how to own their story and have the courage to share it while turning their message into a movement. She's also all about helping you live and lead with courage and has started the Courage Collective to support the movement of women's voices being heard around the world. Welcome, Chantelle.
Hello. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
I know we've been trying to coordinate this for what feels like months and months, so it's such a joy to finally be able to have this conversation and capture just some of the magic that's been happening in your life. It's been a beautiful opportunity for me to kind of watch a lot of that unfold over the last few years. So would love to just dive in and hear about it. I don't have very many things scripted, obviously, but I would love to start out with just the one question I ask everyone, which is, what makes your soul sparkle? What lights you up from the inside out?
I love that question, or my sparkles for you today. I love it. There's so many things that do light me up, but as I'm thinking about what is the most important thing for me, it really is that give back piece. So from the time I was a little girl, it was always about, I was out to change the world in some way. And so no matter what I've done in my life, it's always come back to service or giving back in some way. And that's really what has catapulted this next chapter in my life and helped to put all these pieces together, like meeting you and connecting with you and so many other magical things, was this give back piece in my life. And jumping out of an airplane to raise money to build a school in Nicaragua. And so I think there's actually the two things. It's the courage to take action and taking action on things that scare the crap out of me, plus being able to give back in some way, whether it's the simplest things or the really big things in life. When we can be focused on what we're giving rather than what we're getting, that makes my soul sparkle.
I love it. Yes, and it's so perfect that you mentioned that, because I would love for our listeners to know that that's actually how we connected, is that you were being brave and you were doing something that was of service to the world. And I somehow came into your vortex a few years ago when that was happening and was able to actually be part of it in a small way, but still be part of something that you were doing, which has now led to so many just magical circumstances and connections and synchronicities that we didn't even know that were happening at the time. So I love that what you did. Well, that was like 4 years ago. Was it 4 years ago when you did the jump?
3.5. Yes, so it'll be four in August. Yes.
Yeah. So that was part of this really beautiful collaborative book project where you had been reaching out to just kind of people that were doing things in the world that were brave, right? And at the time, I had just walked away from a corporate career to do, speaking and traveling and teaching more of my work in the world. And that's how we ended up connecting. And what I love is that 3 years later, if you fast forward, now I'm doing this work in a little village in Nicaragua, and I had no idea that it was the same village where we built the school 3 years ago. That is still just so incredibly beautiful and magical to me. So thank you on behalf of all of us for being brave and doing your work. And I think it also is such a good point to know that by you doing your work, you've planted a seed and you've started a ripple through the community that you serve, and that's such a beautiful thing. So.
Thank you. And that's part of it too. Like when I think about the sparkle, and when I think about the joy that comes from doing the work you feel called to do, it is the ripple effects, right? And we don't always understand or know And it's a beautiful thing when that ripple effect then kind of comes back, just like your, I was able to see you on stage at an event recently, and you were able to share that full circle story. And it was like a profound moment for me just to see that 3 years later, but there were so many beautiful, magical moments along the way. And sometimes we don't ever know where those seeds, where they're going to go, where they're going to grow. And yet I was able to see that come full circle with you. And then now I'm able to give back to your project, and we're working together, collaborating and doing more good in the world. And it's just beautiful how each moment of courage, each moment of yes, creates that ripple effect for others in the world.
Yeah, it's so lovely. And I think one of the lessons that I learned in that experience with you 3.5 years ago was that I don't have to do things by myself. Right. And that it does take a village to make magic happen, because, for the longest time, I was always like, well, I want to do this and I want to do this. And I would just go. And I would try to make it happen. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And what was so lovely through that experience is, in my mind, I was thinking, I've got to raise $10,000. I want to raise $10,000 to build a school. And what ended up happening was that opportunity showed up to be part of that big project that I didn't have to do all by myself. And that was really a good lesson. And it's funny because I've kind of taken that and threaded that now through most of my work in the world, is that I don't do things alone anymore, because it does take a village. Like, it's no joke, right? So it's so lovely to have had that example of allowing other people to come into the work that you're doing, and to create an even greater, higher outcome, because you weren't doing it all by yourself. So
absolutely. And it was a beautiful lesson too, because the inspiration came, and that's, how we both roll is, getting those divine downloads, and then it's like taking action on that, whether it really seems possible or not. We know that we received that guidance. And that was exactly like, I had 6 weeks to pull together 60 authors into a collaborative book, to create a fundraising platform and website, to get everybody organized, the book edited, published, ready to rock and roll, to set up this fundraiser and to raise the $10,000. And most people are like, there's no way that this is even going to happen. There's no way you can pull this off. I heard that from so many people. And I was like, yeah, it's happening, because I received that inspiration. I know it's meant to be, and I'm going to take courageous action. And no matter what happens, like, even if we had only raised $500 or whatever it was, it would be worth it.
Right.
And that's how I've led my life from then on, is get that inspiration and then lead with courageous action. Just jumping right in.
I do the same thing. I love that you said that, because just like I was telling you before we jumped on here, literally today I thought, I think I'm going to do a sparkle thing in New England. I mean, I think it's lovely. I'm in love with this town now. And in a period of maybe 47 minutes, I've made a reservation. I've put together all the information. I've already got like 10 ladies that want to do it. And it's like following our highest excitement really does keep us on the magic carpet ride. I mean, I am such a believer of that. In every single time that I just go with what feels lightest and easiest and most exciting, inevitably it leads to magic. It's just like, you can't not be in the flow when you're following those hits of like, ooh, that feels really good and really fun. So I love
that. And I love that about you too, is that following your highest excitement. Like, how cool is that? If we could all live our lives in that way. And that's so true. The alignment that comes when you're in that state, right? When you're feeling that energy, then it's that whole enthusiasm is contagious piece, right? But really, on an energetic level, people are like, hello, I need that. I need to be part of that. What is it?
Yeah, because it does allow us to feel like magnetic. That's when we're in our energy is like the lightest and most fun and exciting. And I just feel like it's so important to continue to like stay in that. And it does feel to me like that's my intuition just saying this, do this, So.
And it's beautiful that you do take action, because I think that something happens when I think we all are entitled and ready to receive, and we're constantly receiving inspiration. But sometimes, I know myself, I've been guilty of this before too, where I'm so busy, or I'm not really doing my own work or taking time to be still and quiet to receive that Even if it's there, I'm not really listening.
Yeah.
And or if we don't actually take action on those moments of inspiration, then they're not going to come as frequently. So I think you're like boom, 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 boom. So more magic just keeps coming to you, right? So it's beautiful.
Yeah. You know, it's so interesting that you mentioned that around the inspiration and hitting and then leaving. I remember reading in part of Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic book.
Yeah.
I heard her speak, when the book came out a year or two ago. And I just remember hearing her mention that of like, when you get inspiration, that is like the divine telling you, do this thing. And the challenge is if we go consistently without listening and, like you say, taking courageous action, it's like those things go away or they go to someone else.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. I was like, wait a minute, if I don't do it, it's going to go somewhere else. I might as well just do it, right? Make it happen. So yeah, I think that's the way that you also have created this beautiful life. Because a lot of, that's what I talk about a lot is creating a magical life. And yours may look very different than mine.
Yeah.
I'm off doing my wild and crazy gypsy plan. But I feel like you've been able to craft and curate your very own version of what a magical life looks like for you. How did you figure that out? Or how did you kind of create these different parts and pieces of what you've now been experiencing for the last several years of really beautiful success speaking and teaching and traveling?
Well, and it really was like my wake-up call that I share a lot of times of losing a dear friend to breast cancer. And it was in that wake-up call where I was like, wow, I have lived my whole life really in fear. And I had never really realized it, that, fear was under my procrastination, or fear was under the decisions I made not to do a certain thing. It was the fear of failure, the fear of not being good enough, the fear of judgment, the fear of, all these things, failing, all these things that were holding me back. And so it was just a conscious choice in that moment that, okay, no more. I'm going to, and that's when I wrote down my fear list, and I wrote down all the things that I'd ever wanted to do but hadn't because of fear. And as I started to check those things off my list, I'm a to-do lister too, but as I started to check those things on my list and started to do things that were always something I had that passion or calling to do, and they varied from learning to ski, to jumping out of an airplane, to dancing in a Latin dance competition, to trying out for a Broadway play, to like all these things. I started to realize that, life is about experiences. Life is about, and so the richness that came through facing these fears and saying yes to fear and doing it anyways and moving beyond fear and seeing the ripple effect, because I honestly don't think I could ever imagine this life right now 3 years ago, but I made the next courageous step. Yeah. And then the next, and I followed those hints of inspiration, and I took courageous action, and I faced those fears one by one, little by little. And that's what's just then led me to where I am today. And I love that I very much like to kind of know, right? Like I do like to know and have like a clear picture and a clear map. But I've released a lot of that control or desire for control lately, because I also see that my picture of what I could imagine right now is not even close to what actually can be if I just trust and lean into the fear and take action when it's inspired and aligned, and trust that I'm moving in the direction I need to be moving, and that everything is working out as it needs to work out, and I'm being led in the direction I need to go, and that there's this beautiful bigger picture that's even bigger than me, bigger than I could imagine, that's unfolding. So that's kind of, the big story piece that has led me here, but it's just through simple one step at a time and one choice at a time.
And believing that things do always work out for you. That's one of the things I always, talk about when I'm speaking or teaching or doing anything, and tell myself all the time. It's like, oh, wait, well, things always work out. Like, it's going to be fine. It's all going to work out. And it's always going to work out in the highest and best for me. It might not work out the way I want it to or think it will or should, but just trusting that it will always work out for the highest and best, and not attaching to the outcome of anything. That also feels like very spacious, like liberation and freedom for me. So it's interesting that that's kind of been your path as well, is just to follow the thing, that knowing that it all is going to work out for you. I love it.
Absolutely.
I also think what you said about, losing your friend, I feel like that's an important point to make, because I think a lot of times people, they don't take action until there's something huge that happens. And I think what you're doing with your message and your teaching is really helping people to not wait till that point, not wait till someone passes away, or till there's an illness, or, a lot of my work was in nutrition and wellness for, my whole life. And it's like, people don't make a change until they have a heart attack, or until something happens, it's like, don't wait until that point before you're able to make the shift, and not live from a place of fear, but from a place of trust and truth,
Yes, absolutely. And that's where, like, I find that as we, take those courageous actions, like when I was jumping out of the airplane, for example, and I was sharing the journey, and then I was sharing all these other things that I was doing, and people were like, what's going on? So I was just sharing on, social media, and it was beautiful to see, I had a friend that came and was like, my husband has always wanted to go whitewater rafting, and I've been too scared. And she's like, but for I think it was their 20th anniversary or something, she had booked them to go whitewater rafting. And she's like, I wouldn't have done this without your example. And I think that we all can do that. And that's like what I see is kind of my mission now, is just really helping people, not only in business and in telling their stories and speaking and having the courage to do that and creating that bigger impact that we're called to create, but also just in living life to the fullest, like all in, full out, with courage, and not letting that fear stop us professionally or personally, because we're all whole, our mission, our calling, our life, it's one whole, and we need to be able to express ourselves courageously, professionally and personally, and also take action courageously, professionally and personally, and in our lives. So it's just this ripple effect piece that I'm fascinated about, of like, as we all start doing this more people are going to be able to rise up and see that and take action too.
And live their life in the way they want.
Yes.
Like, it's so interesting, because one of the side effects, I guess, of me doing my journey the way I have, and putting things in storage and just traveling. And a lot of times people think I'm crazy. They're like, what, you don't have an address? Like, what? I don't understand. But I've also had just incredible feedback of gratitude, and saying, thank you for doing your life in this way, because you're giving people permission to do it. It's so interesting. I'm in this little town right now, Essex, Connecticut, and I hardly know I first didn't know anybody. Now I have like a million friends. It's so cute, but it's a small town. I go into the post office, and I'm trying to mail a few things, and they're asking for a return address. Well, I'm staying at a friend's home, so I have to look up the address, and the guy's like, you don't know your own address? I'm like, well, it's not actually mine. And I'm trying to explain a little bit of the story. Like, I'm just here visiting. I've been traveling for several months now. And some people think I'm crazy. And the woman behind the post office desk says, in all seriousness, she's like, oh my goodness, I don't think you're crazy at all. I just think you're brave.
Oh.
I just think you're brave. And I was like, oh, really? It was the sweetest thing. It was so heartfelt, because she was like, you're doing life in a way so many people want to do it, and you just give us hope that it's possible. And I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna cry. Domestics, right? I was like, you're just the sweetest thing. And I literally sat in my car for a minute. I was like, wow, we don't know. Like, we don't realize that by just doing life in the way we're doing it, and this is for all of the people listening, you are an influence, you are an inspiration, and you also, you don't have to wait to do life in the way that you feel called, or in the way that you want. So we're giving you permission to be brave and courageous, and maybe a little bit crazy, but
yeah. I love that. I love that. And that, again, is a ripple that maybe you will, or maybe you won't know. Maybe there's something that's stirring in that woman now, that she's going to go look at her life and decide what's right for her. Right. And what a beautiful ripple that could be, that sometimes we don't even know the impact that we're having in people's lives, for sure.
It's so sweet. So I know you've got like a million things going on right now, and I want to make sure that we cover everything that we wanted to. I know that obviously we started off with Nicaragua, and I do want to come full circle again with that because it's even more fun being able to now collaborate with you moving forward. So just for the benefit of folks that may or may not know what we're up to there, we've got a women's collective now in the sweet town Padre Ramos, and there's 10 ladies with their children, and we are building homes for them because the current homes they're in are being washed away. The oceans keep getting closer and closer, and so they're not in a safe living situation, and they're just not in safe housing, period. It's just little shanty hut things. So we are in the process of building 10 homes on this farm, this piece of land they've been gifted, and they broke ground just 2 weeks ago on the first one. They're almost complete with the first house, and I literally, Chantelle, just so you know, I watched the video on Facebook, and my eyes fill up, and I'm like, where are the Bev naps? I can't stop crying. And I was so moved just to see the outcome. I'm sure you felt the same way when you were building the school.
Yeah.
In real life and see it being completed is just such a beautiful thing. And so we're just getting started. We've got 9 houses left. But it's so exciting to have you part of that and being so encouraging and supportive with the work that you're doing. So one of the things is it okay if I tell the story of the bracelet?
Of course. Okay. Of course.
So I love how you felt called to share one piece of this magic with your tribe through the jewelry collection, because as a lot of you know, we've got the Women's Collective is also creating our Soul Sparkle jewelry line is as a way for them to create additional revenue for themselves and their families. So we're so excited to be able to do kind of parallel projects, right? So we're raising funds to build the house, and then we're also creating the jewelry so they're creating it so that we can help make additional income. And you were so sweet to have invested in wanting a piece of that for each of the women in your Courage Collective. So again, thank you so much for your support and your encouragement. I'd love to hear more about what the Courage Collective is, and that way some of our listeners, if they're interested in connecting with you, they'll kind of have a better sense of what you're up to.
Absolutely. So the Courage Collective is like my heart work, my big vision calling that I feel it's really about women rising and supporting each other. And it's a global community. It's a business mastermind where you receive support and really being able to build and create your movement, your passion project, and carry that out into the world in a big way. It's also part in-person support and sisterhood. So there are local circles popping up all over the world, and we have 50 circles currently already started, and we're looking for more leaders as well, hosting in-person events and connecting together to collaborate and to dive into your fears in this safe space of a circle of 15 women and be able to move forward with your intentions and find that alignment that we were talking about. And then also to share speaking opportunities and to practice the art of speaking and storytelling in a beautiful sisterhood and safe space. And so it's like, I don't know, Toastmasters meets TED meets some heartfelt, beautiful, soulful sisterhood. So it's a movement for sure, and we're just getting started and growing it in a beautiful, organic way, and building on all that this can be. But right now we have give back projects as a part of it, 10% of every membership. We have the online community that is beautiful. We have master classes and support. And then, of course, the in-person events and connections and masterminds. So it's like this whole beautiful package where I feel like in this online space and online world, we need that in person. We need that in-person connection. And as I created Shine Live and other events that I've done, I realized how beautiful the connections, the collaborations, the magic that happens when we actually are in the room together. And we need that. We need that support. We need that circle. We need that. And to be able to create those little pods of beautiful, heart-centered women meeting and supporting each other, and courage and speaking up is so powerful. And so that's the Courage Collective. And yes, the bracelets are going to each of the leaders that are starting these beautiful circles around the world. And we have other plans for other amazing gifts to give the members as well. So really excited to be a part of that, and to also see, because 10% of each membership right now is going to help build the homes. Mm-hmm. And so then they're receiving the bracelets from the women. So it's like, again, a dual give back, which is so beautiful. And I appreciate you having the vision to create that opportunity and to bring those women to something so beautiful that you've created is so powerful.
Well, it was divine guidance for sure, right?
Yeah.
I think I told you we had been looking for a group to work with. I'd sent multiple emails and reached out to a lot of different organizations, different artisan collectives, and none of them were responding to me. And I was like, this is such a great idea. Like, why is no one calling me back? Like, what's the deal? I love this. And it took me going on a service trip to Nicaragua to build the houses last summer, July, to make the physical connection. Like, I was there and was able to meet them in that way, which made it even more real and more personal. You know, we just fell in love with them. So if anyone is interested, any of you listeners that are interested maybe in joining us for the next Soul Sparkle Seva service trip, that's coming up in November 2nd to the 7th. I would love for you to be able to join us, Chantelle. I'm not sure if
you gotta check on that
one. What I'm trying to do is really create a service meets sparkle experience, because, like, for example, when I went on the trip, we slept on the floor. I didn't go to the bathroom for like 3 days. There was no shower. Like, it was not sparkly. There was nothing sparkly about it. And what I realized is that, you know, people want to do this work in the world. They want to get their hands dirty, but maybe sleep in a nice bed at night, or, you know, like, just be able to be comfortable and also of benefit. So I'm really trying to kind of break down that barrier of that service has to equal suffering, because I don't believe that's the case. And so these experiences that we're creating hopefully will encourage more people that feel called to be of service, but also, you know, have a glass of champagne at the end of the day, right? So that's what we're doing. We're also doing, just so you know, I haven't even told you this, we're planning a couples experience, specifically for couples, next February during the like Valentine's Day week. So that will be super fun too, because I really feel like, and I'm sure you would agree, that couples that serve together stay together. Like, to me, there's a thing there, a connection that's created. And so we want to give them the opportunity to be of benefit, not only to spend time together, but also stand alongside each other and doing this work. I think is going to be incredibly healing and nourishing to relationships. So
beautiful. I love it.
I'd love for you to be part of any of those in any way. So
good. So good.
It is good. It is good. And just so you know, guys, I'll have Chantelle's information, all of her links and things in the notes, so that way you can connect with her if you feel called, and just follow the magic that's happening with her in her life. Is there anything else that you want to share with our listeners today around creating more magic, or being more brave, or anything, any last tips or advice, or anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I think the big thing is that trust, trust. And also, I love one of the things that you always say when we met in person. I was like, I just adore you even more because I met you in person now and we've been able to hang out. But one of the things you said over and over was, of course. And I loved that about you, and just that it's that piece of, like, when we are in complete alignment, when we're trusting, and when we're taking that courageous action, of course, the magic will follow. and just being open to that. And I think a big piece of that being open is doing our own work, seeing our own worth. I think that's so important, especially as women, that we see that shining within us. We see that sparkle within us, and that we aren't afraid to share that with the world and to shine. And that's one of the things I say all the time, that, you know, we need to shine so that we can give others the permission to do the same. And I think that as you are so sparkly and you're shining and just living your life in a way that people are taking notice and they're going, what's different about this girl? And I want to hang out with this girl. And it's the magic and it's the but it's because you have that sparkle and shine, and you're not afraid to let that shine with the world. And in doing that, you're giving others the permission to do the same. So thank you.
So sweet. You're so sweet. You know what you just said made me think too that it's important, going back to what you said about the live events. I believe in the same. I absolutely think that we need to be together. That's why I create Soul Sparkle experiences around the world too. It's like, I want to get women together in containers that can love and support and see each other. Yeah. And that's one of the most beautiful and healing things, I think, for me as a woman, is having other sisters see me and truly see me and speak those things. Because I think it's hard to see, like, oh, well, you know, we've got our own little thing, we're in our own little world. But when we're together with others, they can reflect our beauty back to us. And not just like what we look like, but the beauty of our soul, like the depth of who we really are. And I think that's been such a gift for me to have women in my life that have done that for me. And so that's, again, part of what my work in the world with Soul Sparkle is, to create opportunities for women to feel seen and known and loved and supported, and really know that they're part of a sisterhood, probably that they've never experienced before in their life, where we actually really stand for each other and like support each other in sisterhood and solidarity, where we can celebrate what's happening. Like, it's always so wonderful to see what you're doing, because I'm like, that's so great. I mean, more magic in this world, right? It's fantastic. And I think more of us can step into that level of sisterhood.
Yes.
That's where even more magic is going to happen in the world. So thank you for, again, just doing you and being who you are in the world, and making sure that other people, like, you're so good at giving other people the opportunity to shine as well, knowing that when one of us rises, we all rise. I mean, I think that's a huge part of who you are, at least my experience of you in the past several years. So I think that's wonderful, and I appreciate that so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Absolutely. It's time for us to rise.
It is. It's time. It's all time, everybody. So I love it. Okay, my love. Thank you so much for your time today. What a blessing, and I hope that this was of benefit to our listeners, and I hope you'll join us next time on another episode of Soul Sparkle Radio. Thanks so much.